Welcome to East by West Farms. Here we grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Today is early May and I'm going to give you a garden tour. I'm going to give you a garden tour to see what is growing in our garden around this time. I should say that the weather this year is a little bit different from typical years. Usually by May, we would be pretty hot and have all the summer crops growing very vigorously. But this year, the summer seems to become slow. Right now, we still have some winter vegetable like the fava beans and the shallot and the garlic, and they are on their way out. And we have a summer crop that just gets started. So I will show you what we have now. First thing, of course, is the fava beans. I seeded them last fall. They grew through winter. They already have lots of fava the beans. So we have been harvesting them and cooking with them for about 2 weeks. You can see from the leaves that they are on their way out. So probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have to harvest all the beans and finish them so we can put another crop in. The garlic this year didn't go very well, which is not a surprise because garlic usually requires a lot of nitrogen, and the soil here doesn't have much nitrogen, and I didn't put much fertilizer here at all. So they didn't grow very well. I get some garlic, but they are garlics, but they are nothing to write home about, so to speak. I have sowed some beans. This, I believe, is a high-end bean. I have all kinds of beans just from the beans we bought from the store and sowed them here. A few of them already popped out, so that will take over when the weather gets warmer and once all the fava beans are gone. I'm pretty happy that the fava beans are doing well because I planted them to condition the soil because they're nitrogen fixer, and I'm glad that they have been doing very well through this tough winter. Another thing that is growing is the cucumbers. I seeded them in March and maybe planted them 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now they start to have small baby cucumbers. This is about maybe 2 or 3 feet tall, so I need to put a small trellis for them to go vertical, and look like in maybe 2 weeks we will have fresh cucumbers already. In this patch, I didn't prepare the bed or anything last year. I didn't have time to do that. So just as an emergency, I basically just dig a trench and plant some peas in here just for nitrogen fixing purpose. I do have a few peas growing here, but their growth is miserable. They are all about 4 or 5 inches tall, and 1 or 2 got a few peas, but compared to in good soil, this is miserable. But that's not my purpose. My purpose here is just for them to, as a cover crop, to get the nitrogen into the soil. These are the taro roots we planted maybe 1 month ago. So you can see that now they are already shoot out with these big leaves, and they will continue to grow and get huge leaves. Since the peas are kind of on the way out soon, and I planted all kinds of beans over here again. There's different beans around here. I also planted some cucumbers along the way. Some of them are blooming and start to have cucumbers. In front of me is a patch that was kind of tilled using the BCS when at the delivery of the BCS. All I did was to put some kabocha squash patch in here and covered with mulch, and that was late January. And then when the weather gets warm, this squash sprouted, and they have been growing. I haven't been watering them. I put some fertilizer down, and I just saw that we have a baby squash on this plant already. I believe this is a kabocha plant. It's actually comes much earlier than typically we have in home garden. In the home garden, they will have the male flowers for a while, and then they will get the female fruit. Over here, seems the female fruit come very quickly. Just once they have a few male flower, then the female fruit come. On the left over here is not in the patch that was prepared by the BCS. What we did was we had a video showing that transplant to seed the squash from seeds in a tofu box, and then they sprouted. And all we did is dig a hole in all this wild grass or anything, so there was no preparation. We dig a hole, put some fertilizer underneath it, cover it up, and plant the plants in here. You can see that they are growing actually very well, looks very healthy. Of course, they don't have flower yet. Some actually have flower. Over there, there's a bigger one that even has fruit already. You don't need garden soil or anything look like. We just dig a hole in the prairie and plant the plants, and we're getting very healthy squash plant. We have about maybe 20, more than 20 of these plants spread it out. We basically just pop them into the soil, and they all seem growing very well. Some didn't make it, but most of them survive and is thriving. These are the Jerusalem artichoke that we dug it up from our home garden and planted over here. We have actually a row of them parallel to the fence. The idea is these guys can grow pretty tall, could grow much taller than Chris, 8, 9, 10 feet tall. And this is the west side of the garden. So in summer, this sun is brutal. So the idea is to have this on the west side, have a row of this artichoke, and then when they get very tall, they will provide some shade in the afternoon when the sun is very hot for the plants on the east side. That will keep the plants cool during the brutal summer and continue to produce fruit through the summer. This spring we got unusual amount of rain, so this area was like flooded, and that gave us an opportunity to see where we can dig a pond to store the water. Where I'm standing is essentially the lowest spot of this whole garden area, and Chris come with a level tool to measure out the contour. So it's actually perfect, almost perfect round, and mark it out with the orange flags. That will be something that he will do in the next few months, is to dig this up and make this a pond that we can collect water and then use this for water the plants. This is the potatoes that we planted using the root stock method. We just put the potatoes down on the ground and cover it with hay. And that was either early January or later December. Nothing happened for a while until the weather got warm. And now we got a very nice potato plant. Not all of the potato that we buried sprouted. We got 3 already sprouted and the one that I think is still coming. I found a few rotten potatoes that didn't sprout, just kind of rotted. This is my first time using the root stock method to plant potato, and we don't eat a whole lot of potatoes anyway. So 3 or 4 is good enough for us. Next to the potato, I have the tomato plants. I ordered a bunch of seeds from the rareseeds.com, and they gave me a free bonus seed package of tomatoes. And they actually sprouted pretty early when the weather was not very warm. They sprouted well. So I get about probably more than 20 plants, and I spread them around the garden and see how, I actually don't know what kind of tomato we have here. In Texas, we cannot grow the very big tomatoes. The one that grow well are the cherry tomatoes. For this, I don't even know what it is. So it's gonna be a mystery, and we'll see how it turn out. Here's another plant that probably will go out of season very soon. These are the green onions that we plant from the store-bought green onions. We basically just cut the lower part of 1.5 inches and plant it over here. I was surprised to see how big it gets from that 1.5 inch cutting. It's actually shooting and have started setting seeds. Look like not only I get the onion plants, and I will get lots of onion seeds that I can sow in next fall or this fall. I think that a bunch of green onions from Walmart was like 50 cents. That was really nice to see that how well they grow in this clay soil without much fertilizer. That's a quick tour of our garden area. I hope your garden is doing well, whether you are in the north, your garden just started, or you are in the south where you start to see some summer crops. If you enjoyed this content, please give us a thumb up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it down below. If you have not done so, please hit the subscribe button to follow our journey with the East by West farms.